What's going on, guys? My name is AJ. I'm a real estate agent here in Fort Lauderdale, and today I'm going to sit down with a really good friend of mine, talk about how he started his business, lost a lot of it, and then built it back up from scratch, and what role Fort Lauderdale played in that. So this guy also happens to be my partner on the video side of things, so I'm excited to get him in front of the camera rather than behind it. Con, what's up, man?
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, dude. So hey, before we kind of go back in time and talk about why you came to Fort Lauderdale, go ahead and give everyone just a brief introduction of kind of who you are and just what you do right now.
Yeah, totally. So what I currently do, what consumes my entire life and is my current identity, is founder and owner of a video agency called Brotherhampton Media right here in our beautiful home of Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Nice. Cool, dude. So yeah, that's what you do. And then now I want to get into a little bit of how you got to Fort Lauderdale in the first place, and even how I got here and how we ended up meeting each other. So let's just do kind of an intro on how we both made it to Fort Lauderdale and kind of how we linked up,
Gotcha. So you want me to take it back to when I started the company, or really just the move?
Yeah, you know what? Take it back to, I guess you can say when you moved over here, talk about when you moved over here and kind of what happened when you got here.
Yeah, so rewind back to, I want to say that would have been 2020. Moved here August 31st, 2020. In the lead up to that, I was wrapping up college, I entered the workforce, and basically was testing the field with entrepreneurship. Had a private soccer training business that I started in college, did for summer work, did all throughout my senior year, did it right out of college as well, while simultaneously starting a media company, which was nothing more than just to promote my soccer training business and nothing more than an iPhone.
Right.
But one thing led to another. We got some opportunities to do just basic social media work in the soccer space in Northeast Ohio. The media side of the company actually caught wind and gained a lot of momentum and really took over a majority of our time compared to the soccer training business. So we made a decision that would have been, I believe that would have been end of 2018 or maybe end of 2019, to where my partner stepped away, who I built and started everything with, still a fantastic friend of mine, love him. And I ended up bringing two other people into the business, to where over about 7 or 8 months, like I said, December 2019, I want to say it was, started getting a lot of projects, started to build a team, and started kind of operating it as a business in the, in the best way that any couple kids in their early 20s would do so. And for about 8 or 9 months with this newly assembled team and just this fresh perspective, new skill sets coming on board, and we started to accumulate some clients, some reoccurring clients, some small contracts, a lot of one-off projects. But point being, COVID hit in 2020 of March, I want to say, and the whole world slowed down, as everyone likes to say, and with boredom breeds creativity. And I ended up coming down to South Florida to visit a buddy of mine who was working for Inter Miami at the time, which is the MLS team here. And effectively, when I got down here, got super inspired, called my team. Long story short, within 6 weeks, we decided to jump ship, leave everything we kind of started building behind in Ohio, doing it the right way, right? But once we sorted out all the logistics of things, like I said, from 6 weeks of us visiting down here, led to August 31st when he finally arrived here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Yeah, so that's actually my next question, is what ended up motivating you guys to actually jump ship and come to Fort Lauderdale from Ohio?
Right, so I think I was definitely the catalyst of that decision, but to make a long story short, it really just came down to getting inspired. I think the environment here, the energy here, the people here, the opportunity here, put all that into one, and it's just something that and you can relate to, being from a small town in Texas, is there's not as much opportunity where I'm from. Now, granted, there is, and people can make a fantastic living. I recommend, raising a family the way that I did and how I came up. But it really just comes down to, man, the industries down here, the opportunity, the money, the wealth, just the people, the houses, the boats, the yachts. You're just continually inspired by everything that you're stimulated by on a daily basis. And when I got a small taste of that just visiting and talking to people, saying, hey, this is what we're doing, here's some of our work, what do you guys think? Every person I talked to in the video production space was yo, you gotta come, you gotta jump ship. Ohio, what's up there? Ohio, what's going on in Ohio? Granted, a lot, but yeah, I think if I had to summarize it, it would really just be to get inspired.
Yeah, the energy, okay. And I would imagine, jumping ship, moving away from your family and everything, you probably hit some challenges coming over here. So the next question is just what challenges did you face, like when you first started your business here in Fort Lauderdale, and then ultimately, how did you overcome some of those?
Yeah, I think we kind of made the decision spontaneously from the standpoint of, there was really only 6 weeks of, hey, we're all moving, and then arriving. And, we were still much younger. That was, almost 4 years ago now. And I think we were a little bit underprepared. I think we let the excitement of the move and the new opportunity kind of, overshadow some of like the nitty gritty that's actually required to go to a new market, a new state, and effectively start over, portfolio or not. We're not established. We have no network there. We have no business there, no clients there. I think like I said, I think we just kind of maybe jumped too soon, but at the same time, I also don't believe that. But point being, right. When we got down here to Fort Lauderdale, the team and I decided to part ways very mutually. Still have a lot of love for those guys who played a huge role in my life. But point being, after a pretty short period of time, ended up just being my girlfriend and I down here. So not only did I have to kind of start over on the business side of things, taking on different roles that I wasn't used to. One of those being not even knowing how to really operate a video camera. But we had this billboard or this business, this website, this portfolio, this work to show for, and only really myself and my girlfriend. And yeah, that was a huge challenge trying to overcome that. But I definitely think that it laid the foundation not only just for these past couple of years, but for the rest of my life. I think I learned so much, and I'm super grateful for just everyone who's played a role in it. But I guess to circle back is like the first month coming down here with all this excitement, this high energy, and I'm so proud of you guys, and getting all this love from friends and family, and then getting here and then nothing going to plan. I was kind of, I guess a bit in and over my head. Point being, we're in South Florida, and we're effectively at that point starting over. So
nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's crazy. I mean, you built a business, decided to move across the country, you get here, and then it all tanks. And then you got to figure out how to pick yourself back up again, which kind of leads into the next question is, how has being in Fort Lauderdale supported that growth as an entrepreneur? I know you already talked about like the energy this place has, maybe even some of the connections that you've had since coming here, but now you're all alone and you have to reignite like your passion and the business without losing your sanity. What role did Fort Lauderdale play in building that back up?
So I think South Florida was the perfect place to fail and kind of start over, so to speak, because what I started doing when I had effectively nothing, including money, all I started doing as I was going through this transition in my business to where I was kind of a one-man show, all I did was just network like crazy. Like I'm telling you, I would sit on my phone and send Instagram DMs for 12 hours a day for weeks and months until finally I'm more or less just pitching people my story, telling them who I am. I'm shaking their hand. I'm buying them coffees. We're getting together. I'm meeting everyone I humanly possibly can. And I think it's the people that I met, especially in that first 6 months, that first year, even call it 18 months, are what has allowed me to stay here because they showed me what's possible. And every single person that knew my story, trusted me and saw my vision, and also gave me the opportunity to do business with them, they kept me motivated, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're so used to working a team dynamic, a team environment, and you are now 100% isolated, you have no one to rely on, beside the thoughts in your mind. And at that time, it was extremely challenging. So I give a lot of credit to the people that I met of South Florida, and the city provided that, I think, for me.
Nice. Okay, sounds good. So you're kind of past that hurdle. You're building back up. You're meeting a lot of people, shaking hands, like you said, getting new connections in business in your life. Fast forward a little bit to around like current time. Share maybe a success story or something that you've had, or a big milestone that you've had since getting here and starting back up in Fort Lauderdale.
So I don't want to go into the details of the agreement, but I would say like my first like big client is what really was a benchmark, and I look back on it. It's not necessarily like the newfound money that I started to make on a consistent basis, but it was the person who I was doing business with, which again, I don't need to get into too much detail about it, but the first day, I show up, we're shooting ad creatives and I told you this story before, we're shooting ad creatives, and it was my first like big break. And I'm telling you, up until that point, I was maybe making like $2,000 a month, $1,500 a month. I was hustling, couple $100s. So when I finally get this big opportunity and I show up to the first day to shoot with him, and he goes, "Oh, you can just use your iPhone for this. You know, we're shooting ad creatives," which like is a totally normal thing, right? He's like, "Oh, you can just use your iPhone," and I have my camera and all my gear and all my lights and stuff. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you can just use your iPhone." And I'm like,
Wild.
okay. But point being, not only was that eye-opening to, you know, some different facets of business, but, you know, he's spending $10,000 a month right on Las Olas in a penthouse, you know, right in the heart of Fort Lauderdale. And just to walk up into his apartment and his studio and his home office and to see the views and, like, quite honestly, just money around people that I mean, that's not even real. Like, to be spending 10 grand a month on just your living situation on top of running like a 70, 80 person business, it just really opened my eyes. So I guess, like, you know, I look back to that time and that moment in time where we started working together, and just everything I learned, and just the way that he carries himself and the way that he treated his team and the relationships he was building, and just like his story as well. I really don't know where things would have went if I never met him.
Right.
And learned what I did, and, you know, had been able to apply everything I learned to then just continue moving forward and growing my own thing.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, cool. You kind of alluded to it there, you know, meeting somebody that really changed the course of the business and everything. The next question is basically the networking scene here in Fort Lauderdale. Like, how has that contributed to your growth? I know we've talked a lot about this, but I'm assuming you come across people here that are probably doing a lot more things than maybe they would be doing back in Ohio. So almost every connection matters down here, and it's not necessarily, you know, what that person does, but who they may know, because everyone seems to be doing something here in Fort Lauderdale, right? So the networking scene.
Yeah, you know? and that's the funny, you know, just to touch back on the story I just told, is like, I literally, my vacation, my trip down here before we moved was somebody I met filming a boat party. He was the other videographer there, and he played a huge role in getting us down there, because just talking to him, showing what we're doing, and lo and behold, 8-9 months after moving down here, he played a big role in helping me get down here, get comfortable, you know, getting me to meet other types of people that he knows, because he's been in the video space for 2 decades. I was literally sitting at Half Price Applebee's with my 2 friends when he called me at like 9:30 at night. And now, you know, I'm not really answering my phone at that time, but at the time, anytime my phone ringed or buzzed, I'm grabbing it. And he called me, and I'm like, he goes, "Hey, I think I have a potential client for you. You know, like, what he's looking for is just past the capacity of what I can provide." He also does other things, not just video. He was like, "Hey, do you want him?" And I'm like, "Oh, sure, of course." I mean, I'd say yes to anything at that point. And 2 days later, we had 2 discovery calls, and that was that first big break I had. But it's just crazy to think that when I came down here to visit, I told myself, I told my girlfriend, I'm like, if we're gonna go, because I was just getting things up and running, I was like, I'm gonna network like crazy. I'm gonna reach out to every company I can in South Florida. And it was literally a cold DM to this, like this boat party company, this water sports company. I went on there, did it completely for free, and I met the other videographer there who was actually hired to shoot the thing. And to think that that was the sequence of events, and not only meeting him, that led to 9 months later, who, you know, I didn't talk to him every day or every week, but to think that he was the person that, I'm not gonna say changed my life, but like really set me off on this new trajectory. So I'm extremely thankful for him. And I think, like you said, to kind of bring that full circle, is like, everyone you meet in South Florida is extremely unique and has a unique story, more so than maybe where you grew up from, right? Like, you kind of know everyone's story. They went to high school, they went off to college, they came back. You kind of know what everyone's doing for work. Down here, people are from all over the world, all over the country. They're coming down to get inspired, start businesses, network, build relationships, just do things bigger than life, right? So I think the networking down here, and just the people I've had the blessing of having conversations with, even just personal friends, not even just professionally, just the people I've met making ridiculous money, doing ridiculous things at just young ages. I mean, being where I'm from in Northeast Ohio, you just don't get that. So that alone is enough to really convince anyone to come down here, in my opinion.
Right, makes sense. Yeah, Fort Lauderdale, I feel like, is the place to be. I have the similar experience, you know, coming from a small town in Texas, but so listen, we talked a lot about business and everything. I want to talk about kind of your off time now, because Fort Lauderdale may have a little bit more amenities or things to do in your off time than back in Ohio would, maybe, other than maybe sit at a bar or something.
yeah, or watch the Browns lose.
Yeah, there you go. So how has, like, the lifestyle in Fort Lauderdale influenced kind of that work-life balance, unplugging a little bit, and even overall business success, because you are able to kind of shut off and enjoy what Fort Lauderdale has to offer?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dual-edged sword, I think. I think like, and anyone who has their own business or works for themselves, there is no work-life balance, there is no off switch, and it is your complete identity. And you work probably way more than your peers. So, when people talk about free time, I can't tell you how many times people come down here and, oh, why are you so pale? Because I'm not laying out at the beach 7 days a week. I'm not laying poolside for a couple hours every single week or whatever. But, now I'm at the point where after the initial, like, get myself out of the mud, get myself some real stability, now I'm at a point where it just makes everything so much worth it. Like, I true and well just am obsessed with where we live. Like we talked about, like, to be able to go to the beach and to have a pool right outside my, my apartment balcony door, to be able to go all to like these state parks that we have here locally. There's a lot to appreciate and a lot to do, and then not to mention the weather. Every time I go home to Ohio, sometimes I go for a week or two. If it's during the cold months, which is like dang near 7-8 months out of the year, it feels like up there, maybe half the year, it's just depressing. People do not understand what it's like to wake up on a November or December morning here in South Florida and to be able to go for a walk in the morning with your dog and just feel the sun on your face. It re-energizes you, it boosts your mood, and it makes all of being an entrepreneur and working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, 7 days a week for years, it makes it so worth it. If that makes sense. Like, I'm sure you can agree, but it's like, I couldn't imagine doing what I was doing up there. It's like, where's the reward? Right. Yeah, sure, take care of, the people in your life, build a business, make more money, etc. But, sitting inside during 4, 5, 6 months of the winter, and you can't do anything, and it gets dark out at 4:35 p.m. Sometimes we don't even see the sunlight, and like, I just appreciate being able to like kind of bask or just chill out in the weather. It's my patio or the beach after a long day, and I think that, like I said, I think it just makes everything worth it.
Nice, okay. That was awesome. So I really have one question to wrap up things here with you, and it's, somebody is out of state, potentially looking for some place to go to expand their business or something. What advice would you give to not only entrepreneurs, but even just somebody that is looking to expand their career opportunities? Like, what advice would you give them in, moving to Fort Lauderdale or considering this a place to live,
Yeah, I mean, I think travel is the cure to a lot of different things, and, I think travel is the cure to a lot of like limiting beliefs that we didn't realize we had. And if someone's considering moving to like a bigger city or just in general out of their small town where they're from, where their established life is, especially South Florida, I would say 100% go for it. I'm a huge advocate for that. It's not something that I like to preach a lot because I don't want to come off the wrong way to people who maybe have different mindsets, because I can only speak from experience. But man, especially if you're young and especially if you're entrepreneurial, the environment that you are kind of building in is just paramount. And like you said, whether you just want to get out and just live your life, or you want to build and grow a business, highly recommend South Florida, and especially Fort Lauderdale, because it is so diverse. The people, the opportunity, just the connections you make. I mean, it's like you can't even like leave your doorstep without opportunity hitting you in the face or inspiration at that. So I guess to tie everything together, to kind of like capstone this whole conversation, is if you're thinking about moving, you even had the thought about moving and you feel like you can make it happen, take the risk, take the jump. It's not as risky as you perceive it to be.
Nice, yeah. That's what I love about Fort Lauderdale, actually, is like, we've talked a lot about meeting people, growing your business, kind of that young professional years of your life, but it's open to everybody. Young professionals, you can start and raise a family here, move a little bit out west, get into the suburbs, and then you can also retire here. There's insane communities where it's quiet, it's peaceful, but like still within close proximity to everything we just talked about.
Right.
So it's I don't know, really an awesome place,
Yeah, I mean, even like that, like just a quick point, like what you said about, there's, whether you're a young professional who just wants to get out of their hometown, maybe you're an entrepreneur, or maybe you're looking to relocate your family, maybe your husband got a job or something and you want to move the family down, like that's what Fort Lauderdale has to offer. It has everything. And it's not being cliche, but like there's such a diverse range of things to do and opportunities to be had that it is suited for literally everyone. And I think that's another cool part about like the dynamic of living down here too.
Nice, man. Well, that was an awesome conversation. One more quick thing. If people wanted to work with you, if they wanted to support your business or whatever, where can they find you?
Well, if you're a real estate agent and you've even thought about getting on video, I know a guy. He's the owner and founder of Brotherhampton Media. He runs a video agency right here in Fort Lauderdale. I'm sure AJ will put all of my contact details below, but to save you some time, my Instagram is @recreatingcon. Follow me, support my content if you like, and just DM me on there if you have any questions.
Let's go, dude. Thanks for hopping on.
Cool, appreciate you.
Have a good one.